All right, guys, we're back here with Transcendent Ministries again. I'm with my dad, and this is going to be like a part 2 of our disproving evolution series. So we had a video maybe, like 3 or 4 months ago about why billions of years and why evolution is a dumb idea. And so this video, we're going to talk about maybe 10 or 12, I don't know how many I have listed, creations by God that clearly disprove evolution. And just to throw this out there, my dad and I are not scientists. We don't claim to be super intelligent in that field. But you can Google anything that we have down, anything that we're going to talk about, and anyone can read it and then think in their head and use common sense to see that all of these things that we're going to discuss were designed and they couldn't have possibly evolved over any length of time, millions, billions, trillions of years. Time is the evolutionist's best friend, and it doesn't matter how much time you give something. This stuff can't happen.
Just laughable.
By chance. Yeah, it is laughable. So we're gonna get into it here. The first one that I have up is going to be the eye design. So the human eye, I just did a quick Google search. And I don't even know what some of this means, but it says 130 million rods and 7 million cones are in your eye.
Each eye.
Just your one eyeball. And it says the corneal endothelium, whatever that is, at age 18 may have over 3,000 cells per square millimeter.
So if you don't believe that God created this, then you have to imagine how this could form on its own. Orderly in everybody's eye.
The key word there is orderly.
Yeah.
3,000 cells per square millimeter. How could that even fit? Right. Like I can't. A millimeter is like the 1/16th of an inch, and we're talking and then in just your little eyeball.
Certainly, it's designed.
There's seeing
no question about it.
130 million rods, 7 million cones. Yeah, I don't understand much about the human eye. The reason I threw that in there is because of how intricately it's designed and how many cells and the volume of cells that are in your eye.
I think you could ask any average person, if you show them a car and you ask them, did the car form itself? They would certainly say no. It had someone make the car.
Sure.
Just like, and the eye is so much more complicated than a vehicle.
Yeah.
So, why is it so hard to accept that it was created as well? I don't get it.
I guess the second Peter, the willingly ignorant, want to just ignore God because they want to live in a certain lifestyle.
Right. So if you acknowledge that someone created it, then you have to acknowledge there's a God, and then you have to acknowledge it. Yeah, owns the world, and then you have to be subject to Him.
Yeah.
So it's easier to deny the creation.
No, definitely. You want to do the next one?
Sure. Another example of God's creation, and we have the sun, moon, and stars, and everything in the solar system being perfectly placed. And, you can Google how the solar system works. And it's been working for, as far as we know, thousands of years. And how did that happen so perfectly? It's you can't really explain it other than creation.
I think most people have heard the idea that if we were like a few inches closer to the sun, like if the Earth itself was moved a few inches closer to the sun, we would burn up. And if the Earth itself was moved a few inches away from the sun, then we would freeze.
Right.
And so, I don't know what the chances of that happening is, but it's got to be like how many zeros? 1. It's next to nothing. It is nothing.
How could it be a coincidence that the Earth and the sun and the stars and the moon are where they're placed?
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's a good one. For sure. Another one kind of similar, just the vastness, is the next one is just oceans. I mean, I just Googled how much water's in the ocean. I don't even know how they could measure this.
Yeah, I don't even know what that word
I'm
is.
sure this is an estimate. I mean, I don't think anyone can tell exactly. But it says 352 quintillion gallons of water are in the oceans. And like I said, there's probably more than that, but that's just maybe the best estimate scientists have nowadays. Where, like, obviously, one, like, where did all that come from? Two, how, like, does water evolve? Do liquids evolve? Apparently elements evolve because of like, we know that elements are that very thing. So how could different elements produce other elements? Just the fact that there's that much water, where is it coming from, and what is it doing? Is it staying water? Is it changing? But yeah, just the chances and origin of oceans doesn't make any sense unless you just have an intelligent designer. You have to have God to create the waters and place them where he wants. Yeah, I think that's a pretty simple one. But
and this next one is it's on its own could stand, and that would be the genetic DNA formation of human beings, and just humans alone, not any other species or animal or whatever. But the DNA in one human could stretch from the earth to the sun about 600 times. So, obviously we don't know. We can't tabulate how exact mileage of that.
I can't even fathom that.
But to think of that happening by chance is preposterous, moronic, stupid, ridiculous. You can go on and on. It has to be designed.
I think
by that.
Another thing that I've heard is that the human body has about 100 trillion cells or something like that.
I can't remember.
Like just the sheer, and then in each cell is DNA, and all the DNA, like we said, 600 times. If you uncoil all of the DNA in our cells, it would stretch to the sun. I forget if it was the sun or the sun and back. 600.
But either way,
I
mean, we have so much DNA,
so much information
working together in one person.
That's just one
human being,
and we have 8 billion people in the world today.
Yeah. So how could that possibly happen by chance? I mean,
I would say zero.
I can't even begin the conversation of how that could have happened. That's how ridiculous,
for sure,
and dumb it is.
For sure. Yeah, and we have a couple good examples of we have a scenario at the end that I think really drives that point home of the chance of this thing forming.
Okay, yeah,
we'll get to that.
What's the next?
The next one we have is a cool one, just a little bit random, but I wanted to throw it in there just because I find them fascinating. Is the flamingo, and the flamingo, I don't know much about it, but I just Googled a little bit about it, and they turn their head upside down to eat, and they stand on one foot and they bend their knees backwards. So they do a lot of things that other creatures don't seem to do. And I mean, I think that they're classified as birds. So the question is if evolution is true, why would the flamingo have not evolved to a better,
doesn't seem.
They seem pretty vulnerable.
Yeah, right, exactly.
They're just standing there on one foot. They look fragile. I mean, they can't fly, to my understanding. I don't think they can, at least. But why wouldn't they evolve to an eagle? Something.
But somehow God keeps them reproducing and staying alive on the earth.
Yeah, and just the fact of them, they have very unique things about them. I think just shows that God creates things with a lot of variation and what's the word? Just creativity. Yeah. God is a creative God. It's not just a bunch of cells by chance forming and combining and boom, there's a flamingo. Yeah. I don't even know what would have evolved from a flamingo. and what would have came after flamingo. Like I don't know how you
Yeah,
explain
I can't see.
that. You want to touch on the next one here?
This one is, I mean, another one that. How do you? Can you put that back?
Yeah, sure.
How do you explain this? You can't.
You can't.
All the systems in the body, the nervous system, the reproductive system, the digestive system, the heart, and whatever you want to, the bones that are.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain how that happened by chance? Again, it's just so absurd that you can't even begin an argument in that manner.
And how could they have evolved into what they are? Like, how could the heart evolve? It's either a heart that works or it's not a heart.
And everybody seems to have a heart that I've seen.
I mean,
in the humankind.
The reproductive system, it makes it like a million more times complicated than evolution. If we were to not reproduce, it would be easier for evolution, and yet we do, and it makes it harder, and they still believe in it.
Right.
But yeah, sorry if you had anything else on that.
No, that's really. I mean, the nervous system, how your body is set up to protect itself.
Yeah,
how do you explain that?
Signals firing when you're in pain or whenever you're in
whatever is necessary.
When your body needs to recover.
Yeah.
If you're tired.
And you kind of touched on the reproduction.
Yeah.
Right. And how do we have?
It just makes everything more complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, they're believing in evolution, and they're saying about reproducing and having offspring that's different. Well, that makes it even harder.
Right.
It doesn't make it easier. I like this next one too, because it kind of how do I want to explain it? It kind of like slaps evolution in the face a little bit, because it seems like it's speedy evolution almost. But the butterfly. So the butterfly, I mean, again, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff.
Right.
All I know is the butterfly starts out as like a larva and a caterpillar, and then it goes into that cocoon, and then it somehow in the cocoon changes quickly and forms, and then it turns into a butterfly. It comes out of the cocoon.
It's amazing.
It has wings from the caterpillar. It now can fly. It's a butterfly. And the reason why I like it is, one, because they're very cool to look at, and two, how can you explain how every single butterfly goes through that process, but yet it's almost like they're evolving, but they're all doing the same thing. It starts out as a caterpillar, and then it goes into that cocoon, comes out a butterfly. And if they were evolving, at some point, one of those stages would be cut off.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like
I think that just that alone disproves evolution.
And then on a larger scale, how many different kinds of animals there are? Just in plants, and how did that all happen without creation? It just there's no chance. There's